doing clarity right there on Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Wanted to do a quick show maybe, hopefully, we'll see how it goes, but a quick show on the concept of contrast and how so many of us, I think, miss the real true point of contrast and what all this means. So I'm going to kind of take 2 steps back, if you will, and then I've got a little bit of an interesting story from today to share. This really is what inspired today's show. So a lot of us, we'll start here. A lot of us like to put out signs, symbols, and all those kinds of things, right? And so sometimes we'll place it out there and we'll say, all right, if this happens, this means X, Y, and Z. And it certainly can when you predefine, without a doubt, because you're basically telling the universe, hey, this is what this sign means in advance. Some people might see initials in someone's license plate, for example, right? And they hadn't pre-decided any signs, so they might look at this and see the initials and go, oh, well, that means my person's thinking of me, or that means we're going to be together, or that means X, Y, or Z. And the reality of it is it really doesn't necessarily mean anything. You're thinking of them, you're working on manifesting them. This is just evidence of that. It's evidence that there is energy placed towards this individual with those initials, this person whose car is the same way, this person whose name is on the billboard that you just drove by. Like, it's indicating that this is what you're putting energy towards, this is what's coming towards you, and you're getting little snippets of it. It doesn't really mean anything other than that, other than, hey, this is what you've been putting energy towards, this is what's active in your vibration right now, and I'm going to show you evidence of what's active in your vibration right now. Now, again, what we vibrate in the law of attraction terms is what we bring towards ourself. So what's active in our vibration, what's our predominant belief, certainly, but what's our predominant thoughts, feelings, and words and deeds and all those things is what we're going to experience and create. It's what we're going to create, and certainly what we're going to ultimately end up experiencing. So why do I say all that? I say that to kind of preface how a lot of times many of us might have a situation where we're stalking them on Facebook, and I will say it right now, and I will say it again, and Anya says it too. Do not stalk people on social media unless you're planning on getting your feelings hurt or somehow find out information that makes you unhappy. I want you to understand that if you've listened to this and then you get on Facebook or something and you find out something you shouldn't, and then you get upset, and then you come back to me and say, I just saw such and such on Facebook, what should I do? Don't do it, and I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm telling you right now, you shouldn't do the thing that just caused you to be upset. Why? Because it will cause you to be upset. Don't. Let them post whatever the hell they want on Facebook. Who gives a crap? It doesn't matter. Really, worry about you. Worry about what's going on. Worry about what is active in your vibration. But, that all being said, people invariably find out through the grapevine or whatever. Maybe they start dating someone else. Maybe something happened that just seems like, they've accepted a job, they're going to move. I don't know, I'm just throwing out some crazy ideas. Something has happened. And I like the relationship one the best, actually, for the concept of contrast and what I'm trying to demonstrate here. When we look out at them and we're like, they're with someone else. This is horrible. Should I give up? Should I not care? Like, how should I feel? They're dating someone else right now. I'm very upset about this. This is the darkest days. This is horrible. How does this indicate what I'm trying to manifest? How does this bring about what I've been vibrating at? Because, of course, everything I'm doing right now has been perfect. And so there's no reason why any sort of negative things are showing up in front of me. So that all being said, one, always look really closely at what you're thinking, saying, and doing, because there is going to be contrast times where you're trying to manifest something. Certainly, we've talked about putting things up on pedestals. One of the things that you're going to invite is the contrast of it, as just right off the bat. So there's a number of scenarios when we manifest that can create a contrast scenario at first, and then manifest what it is. And that's a great another show to do, but certainly way too timely to get into on this particular one. Just understand that, if you put someone on a pedestal, for example, you're basically separating yourself, and you're creating this scenario where you have to experience the opposite, and then maybe you can, through that contrast, you can get to them. But putting someone on a pedestal is bad. But a lot of times it's when we're trying to manifest happiness, for example, we sort of manifest the opposite of it first, because it's from that contrast that we actually build our positive understanding. It's almost relative to the negative that the positive exists, right? And in a sense of electricity, that's extremely true, at least as far as how nature works, or at least as far as how electromagnetics works, is the negative pole to the positive pole. It's the direction it moves. So hopefully, from that standpoint, negative to positive, I don't know, kind of makes sense from that standpoint. The reason I bring all this up, contrast, why it's so important, why when someone's dating someone else, for example, how we look at that and we're like, so we have a reaction. We find out so-and-so, person we love, is dating whoever, right? They just started dating him. We have the decision right now to decide how my manifestation is going to play out. I want to date so-and-so, right? That's who I'd like to be with, but I just found out on Facebook when I was stalking them, or Instagram, or through a friend, or whatever the hell, that he's dating someone else, or that she's dating someone else, and that she's gone out a bunch of times and is enjoying the company of someone. And we look at that and we go, so we decide one of two things as far as manifesting is concerned. Either A, that's the reality that I'm going to accept, which is that she's with another person or he's with another person. Or I'm going to go, that's ridiculous. There's no way that's happening. I'm going to be with this person. That's how this is supposed to play out. And then you can come up with scenarios in your mind for why they're currently together, because that's what I frequently said to many people. If you're trying to manifest something and you're doing the work, then I have no doubt that you're going to create what you're after. I don't doubt it. So if so-and-so's together and you're truly working on manifesting them, then they're obviously going to break up. And there's probably some sort of lesson to be learned in all this. Maybe he's experiencing something. Maybe it's actually inspired something in you, which gets back to the contrast. We'll get there in a second. But again, this whole experience is not to be lost. There's something to it. There's a reason. There's a purpose. Something behind this. It's going to help evolve and move this situation along by the very fact that these people dated for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever. Makes an enormous difference. Now, the contrast aspect of it can be extremely powerful when you look at it and you're like, I absolutely am not going down that path. There's no way. So here's where this came really into play. And my buddy, I'm not naming anything. I'm not getting specific. I know he's going to be bummed. He's like, dude, you're talking about me. It's all right. I am, but no one knows who you are. So you're okay. Don't worry about it. The situation is there's a little upset feelings, right? I don't want to get into all the details of it, but there's a fork in the road, if you will, and he's very much trying to stay on the path of trying to manifest back his SP, essentially. And there's some frustrations with it, like a lot of us. We have our frustrations that go through this. Things don't work out. Sometimes they're not being as responsive. Sometimes we don't get text messages back. Sometimes they don't want to hang out with us on days that we consider like important or whatever, right? And so we were talking, and he was frustrated, and he was kind of getting into some of that and really sort of embracing some of the negatives that he was feeling he was going through right now with this contrast. And where the contrast really got good, and literally, I don't do this often, but sometimes this is a really good technique for those of you that want to be teachers. Sometimes it's a really good idea to go ahead and say, all right, let's entertain the fact that you're in a fork in the road. There's the direction that I know you want to go, right? And that's getting everybody back, getting everything good, getting everything happy. And there's the direction where I know you don't want to go. But right now you're entertaining that because you're in a fear mode. You're in a very, this isn't okay. I don't know. Why is this happening? Blah, 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 right? And you're in a very fearful, very depressed, very not going, I'm creating what I want. Like you don't believe it, obviously, right? So very down that negative path. So what I did simply is I said, all right, look at this. You're at a fork in the road right now. There's one of two things that can happen. He's like, what do you mean? And I go, well, there's the path where you get back together. You get everything back the way it was. Everything's groovy. And you start moving down life together. Lesson learned, kind of all this good stuff. Put it behind you. Dust yourself off. Life is good. Or here's an opportunity to start over, to create to begin a new version of you. To start a life where that old part of yourself doesn't exist anymore. And this new part of yourself starts to evolve. And going down this path, I started to sense a bit more and more pulling back from the conversation, uncomfort in what we were talking about. Sort of, you could tell that he was wanting to figure out how to get out of this phone call. And I understood that. And at the end of it, he's like, all right, man, well, I just appreciate your time. And I'm like, hey, so you seem kind of frustrated. Like I've upset you. What's going on? And he goes, well, you're telling me stuff that I just don't want to hear. And I said, I know. So that's why I brought it up. Because I wanted you to look at it. I wanted you to look at that and then go, that is definitely not what I want. I am getting her back. I gave the choice in the path. I said, you can go down the path where you get your wife back and everything's great and all this grooviness. Or you can start your life all over again. Ooh, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. No, I don't want that. Then the contrast of what you do want is enough to focus you on, no, I'm definitely getting her back. And that is what is needed to get her back. If you're thinking in thoughts of sorrow and fear and woe is me, everything's so horrible, that's what you're creating right now. And it's not everyone else's job to blow sunshine up your backside. And I don't mean this just to my buddy, I mean this to everybody, myself included, when I go through my little moments. It's not anyone else's job to blow sunshine up our backsides. It's our jobs to recognize this is just what's being portrayed to me right now. This is not anything permanent. It's a moment right now where, and a lot of times you'll get contrast to demonstrate the opposite, to help you see relative to the negative, here's the positive. It's all relative to itself. It's relative to the opposite of it. Nothing exists without its opposite. Hot does not exist without cold. They mean nothing without each other. Absolutely nothing. Left without right, right? Exactly. Otherwise, you're going that way or there. Go over there. Left implies it's not right. Left implies it's the other direction, and straight somehow in between them. So sometimes that contrast serves a very powerful purpose. And so many of us get hung up on the fact that we're experiencing a moment of contrast, instead of looking at it and going, what is this showing me? Is this something that I absolutely don't want to experience? Well, good. Don't. Choose and experience and manifest and imagine a scenario where that's not the case at all. And this even goes to, and it's a small percentage, so I'm sorry to take up the time with it, but this goes to a lot of the places where there's arranged scenarios and the situation they've already gotten married. I've had a couple people like they've already gotten married. Well, that's kind of a tougher one, no question about it. So that contrast can serve as a means of saying, well, the scenario I'm imagining is they're not together anymore. Now, I don't recommend that per se. If someone's just recently gotten married, probably a good time to start to consider, hey, maybe it's just best for them. Because now you're asking for the relationship to end. You're asking for someone else to be involved. There's now families involved. You're asking for a lot of change to occur. And, there can come a whatever. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to make judgments on what you should or shouldn't do. This is totally up to you and how you feel about things. But when it comes to affecting multiple people, I start to question things, is this a good idea? I'm asking to upset a few different people in my desire to have what I want. And it's not necessarily benefiting more people. It sounds like it's benefiting mostly me and maybe my SP, but then a lot of other people, not so much. That's me. Don't want to go there. But again, contrast can serve an enormously powerful function if we let it. Don't get too caught up in what's being shown to you. It's where you're at right now. It's transitory. It's not even real. Whether it's good or bad. If you're seeing initials because you've been thinking about your person, great, but it doesn't really mean anything. It just shows the direction you're going. If you're being shown a piece of contrast, maybe it's been manifested because of fear thinking. Maybe it's been manifested because you need to look at that and face that. Maybe it's being manifested as a means to show you the negative so you can say, screw that, I want this over here instead. Whatever the case is, it's not your reality. It's not your, here's what you've manifested. Here's your manifestation. Done. You're done. That's what you get. It's just an indication. It's one story, it's one moment, it's one chapter in your movie, it's one scene in your movie. It's okay. Put context around it. Oh, it was that one scene that actually helped inspire this action where things really finally did work out perfectly. Or through this action, then I dated this person, then I had this experience, and then, yeah, we broke up, but then me and my SP did get back together, but because we both dated these other people, we have this totally different understanding, and I never would have done it had they not gone into a relationship first. Life plays out very interesting scenarios. I try really hard to open my mind up because I know what I'm manifesting is what I'm manifesting. What I'm seeing right now isn't the reality I'm creating. It's not. It's just an indication on the way I've been feeling or thinking lately. If it seems negative, I look at it and go, okay, what do I need to change? Have I been kind of scared? Have I been feared? Is there things I'm doubting? Do I not believe this is possible? I start looking at it, right? If I'm kind of in that place. Otherwise, I'm seeing positive things that would indicate it's on its way, and I'm like, I don't worry about it. So again, these things will definitely show themselves to you. It'll hopefully make a lot of sense as you're moving down this. But really, the embracing the contrast and really truly seeing it for what it is. Contrast. That's all it is. It's the opposite. It helps you define what it is that you'd like to experience based off of what you don't want to experience. And you really have to have both of those scenarios in there. Otherwise, relative to what does this thing mean? Right? You have to have that negative. Otherwise, it doesn't play out at all. Going out with a great song by Mr. Michael Jackson himself. The song's called Black or White. It's right here on Dan Radio Style.